A sua opinião, o seu conceito não altera a minha visão. Foi tanto sim que agora digo não. Porque a vida é louca, mano, a vida é louca. Quero saber só do que me faz bem. Papo furado não me entretém. Não me limite que eu quero ir além. Porque a vida é louca, mano, a vida é louca. Me pede pelo caminho, mas não paro não. Já chorei mares e rios, mas não afogo não. Sempre dou o meu jeitinho, é bruto mas é com carinho. Porque Deus me fez assim, dona de mim. Deixo a minha fé guiar, sei que um dia chego lá. Porque Deus me fez assim, dona de mim. Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Joy. I want to welcome everyone to the Social Gastronomy Movement Food Solidarity Gathering. This week-long space and this event series is our way this year to create a space for our communities to connect, to share, and to collaborate across countries, sectors, and topics surrounding food solidarity. We are so honored to have so many amazing individuals and organizations contributing not only to this week of sessions, but also all those who are working to create a more just and equitable food system. So before I introduce our hosts and continue this great online series, I want to just let all know that we will have a short poll at the end of the session, just to make sure if we are on the right path. And we will also be recording this session in order for us to share that with the community and take this impact even further. Well, with that, I'm super excited to introduce today's hosts, Caroline Busato, Wisma Goulart, and Kathleen Fornari. They will be guiding us through this journey of building communities and impact in a non-conventional way. And we'll have a better overview of Dona de Mim and World Women Leadership Case. They're both movements and networks that advocate for gender equality, and this is really dear to our hearts. So thank you so much for being here with us, ladies. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you all for the invitation. For us, it's also a pleasure to be here. And also, it's a pleasure to share with you a bit of our story and what we believe. And we, as the title says, what does it mean to build communities in an impact in a non-conventional way? So let's get started. I just want to say a little bit that we will have a 45-minute session that we'll talk for a little bit of time, and then we have time for questions and answers. So please, if you want to know more, we are here to talk to you and to get to know you more. And also after that, we will have a girls only session, a safe space for us to share and to put our heart. So it will be very special for us to count on your participation. Well, that's it. I'm going to share my screen and then we can start. Just a second. This is always the part that we get a bit nervous because we have to do all the things with technology. But I guess it will be, everything will work. Can you say if you can see my screen? I guess, yes? Okay, so let's get started. So as Joy mentioned, we, me and Wisma, we co-lead two movements. One of them is called Dona de Mim. and the other one is a network called World Women Leadership. Both of them, they advocate for gender equality. And I'm going to tell you before our story and then how everything started.
Carol, just a moment. I think for me, your screen is not appearing anymore. It used to be like 30 seconds ago, not now.
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
All black for us.
All black?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Just
it is.
So just 1 second. Sorry. I always
That's
mention
the
it.
Zoom live.
Yes, and that's the technology. It helps, but also trying again. Can you see it?
Now, yes.
Okay, perfect. So before starting with the story of Dona de Mim and World Women Leadership, we're going to start with the story that came before. That is my story and Wisma's story. Well, I am Caroline Busato, and I used to say that I wake up to foster a life-enhancing economy. This means that I think that the economy we live today needs some points of adjustment, has some blind spots, and it's linked to food, to value chains, and also to people and other subjects. And this is the thing that makes my eyes shine. And this is why I'm here also. This is my CV. You can look for it at LinkedIn. And the most important thing that I can say is that I've studied a lot in a system that it's an economy that is looking for indicators such as GDP and things that has to grow. And what I can say about myself is when something doesn't make sense, I used to question it. And the questions led to what I do nowadays, that is co-leading Dona de Mim and World Women Leadership. I also work for a consultancy called Fundes, that is a Latin American consultancy that links small and medium business to value chains. I speak and write and teach about new economy. I'm also an AR artist. I love sports and I'm a nature enthusiast. And now I pass the word to Wisma to present herself.
Hey guys, how are you? My name is Wisma. I'm 32 and I'm originally from the middle of Brazil. I stay here, which is called Minas Gerais, but I was raised in the south by my mom and her sister, whose name was Wisma, so that's where came my name. And that's basically when my story started. So being raised by two women changed the way I grew up thinking about how is actually the way another woman can empathize but also support her sisters. And also how the movement is more than incredible to act like that, but also needed. And socially, we are thought to be sometimes competitive, to judge other acts, and to chase the perfection. And that's the main legacy of patriarch. And once I realized that, I was flattered to know that actually I could change the world by changing the way I could treat, respect, and give opportunities for other women as well. So I could be saying my resume that you can read in the screen and how working at the corporate world was relevant, or how being part of a social project changed my career once I am a child of a nanny and a seamstress who had no money to give me the opportunities I was given it afterwards. But for sure, who I am is far less about my technical skills, but the way I see people in life. And I could also say that that's why also my money and my time I spend in experiences, traveling, eating local, meeting others, connecting myself in courses or even events like that. And from where I came to where I am now, with rice and water at home just to eat, to a person who is able to travel, to speak other languages, spread her message and change also a little bit, at least a small part of the world, is just possible because of those women and their legacies. And so I would like to welcome everyone at this session. And it's so flattering for us to be here to spread our message, to share our story.
Thank you, Wisma. And then why we said we started in an unconventional way. Normally, if you think about a business and how it starts, normally you have a big company behind, or you have someone investing. And what we had at the beginning was a shared dream that things could be different for women, that somehow women could occupy spaces in an equal way. And then somehow we started to ask ourselves, what if we transform our discomfort into action? I and Wisma, we get to know each other because we work together. I was her former boss, and we worked for a company, and we saw things that we want to do to be different. The way women were treated, the way diversity was treated, and then we somehow our lives changed the ways. So I went to work in a foundation, and she started a startup. And somehow one day we were gathering for a coffee, and she was telling me a story about an event she organized through Instagram, and she invited 17 women to teach everything she learned on the practice of marketing, digital marketing, entrepreneurship. And for her surprise, there were people that were coming from other states to come to this event. And this is how Dona de Mim started, as a movement. And
I would like also to add just a little, Carol, and I think this is the first message also for those who want to build their own communities as well. Before, we needed another people to say through us. Now with social media, internet, and these connections that actually we are here now, it's an example, we can do it by ourselves. We have our own voice just by, a smartphone and an app. So we can connect with others with this. And Dona de Mim and World Women Leadership is totally connected to this new era of internet as well. And I think the first lesson you could take from this slide is that you can also start your community by using the tools you have. You don't need lots of stuff. You don't need, to be big, to know lots of people. You just need to have a cause. You need to have something that makes you act and leads you to a movement.
Exactly. And then somehow when you start something, the people will start to come. And this is how I joined the movement. We were having coffee, and then she was telling me about this event, how it was, because I was traveling, I didn't attend. And she told me, look at this woman. And she showed me her Instagram. She changed her life. Look at the other women. She started to sell much more, like 20 times more. Look at this woman. She said she had no qualities. Look, she's doing stories through Instagram to sell her services. And then when she stopped talking, I said, well, I want to, and she said, I want to do a second edition. And I said, I want to be together. And this is how the movement started. And for me, there's also a point here that social movements, they start because people really feel something and they want to get connected. So it's kind of something that is human, more than technical. And as you know, I think you are in this session because you want to build communities. You want to get to know how we do it. So we summarized in 8 steps how we do it. And the first one that for me and for Wisma, it's a common ground really, is that no one is small to make a difference. Everything in nature starts small. So you can start something, you can join something that has already started. There's no problem at all, but everything starts small. And when you raise a voice, you are able to change something.
And I love this, Carol, because nowadays everyone wants to start their own movement, but it's so much powerful when we join other movements. So, for example, if you want to be part of a women movement, you can join Dona de Mim and World Women Leadership. The doors are opened. We don't need to be building thousands of small movements, just small portions of water. If together we can be an ocean. And I think this is also part of our values, that everybody can do a difference, but also everybody can be part of it and can add to what we know and to what we think it's correct, because we are not the persons with the reason, but also because we want to do something bigger, and we need more people, we need more voices, we need more minds to do it together. And for you in gastronomy, I don't know which area you are in, but probably there are thousands of movements and ideas and things going on that you can just join, that you can just take the path with, not starting everything over and over again.
Exactly. Well, I didn't start anything, so I can say by experience that how strong is to join something that already exists and help this to sprout. The second point will be that we start something and then we raise our voices and start to question what is wrong. For us, when we talk to gender equality, we started to understand a little bit the scenario, the intersectionalities, and we brought some data here. According to United Nations, the gender gap stands at 16%, meaning that women doing the same thing than men, they earn average 84% of what men earn. This is not right. Women also do 3 times as much care and domestic work as men globally. And this includes cooking, cleaning, taking care of old people, of children. And this is also unbalanced. And at the pace we are, it will take 257 years to achieve gender economic parity. This is a lot of time. We need to do something to change it. And we know, and this we learn by experience, that one of the most critical SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals from United Nations, is gender equality, because it has lots of intersectionalities with quality education, poverty, reduced inequalities, hunger, and economic growth. So this means that when we act in development and develop women, we are acting in a systems way.
And it's still there. But in the second button, there is something. When we decided which cause we would act for, we had to say no sometimes to other things. And this is also something for those who are trying to build or be part of any movement. And for us, gender equality is something that overflows us. It's not something that is tough for us to talk about, because in our personal lives, in our careers, we also used to advocate towards that. So for us, it was a little bit easier to talk about this. So this tip is kind of a tip for you guys. Like if you want to build something, a movement or anything, just go for the thing that actually is part of your life. That is something that you wake up and you think about this. And it's not something that it's, trend, or because everybody's talking about, or because it can be an opportunity for you, but also because it makes sense. So there's no movement with no feelings. There's no movement if your soul, your heart is not there. So that's this, I think it's just adding some point, Kara, here, to be something that is truly part of your life.
Perfect. we stand for gender equality. It's not a story we tell. We advocate for it through our lives. So it's easier, and also how our heart is on it. And the third point will be on sharing knowledge and net waving. And for us, all we know, and really, I mean it here, all we know is onto service. There's no point of knowing something and not sharing or not teaching someone. And this is really powerful. The other thing that is powerful is that for us, we believe more in net waving than in networking. And what does it mean, net waving? First, you give, you donate, you serve. And you do it with your heart. You do not expect something back. And this way of acting creates like a natural bond with other humans. And this is what we believe. Do you want to say something, Wisma?
No, it's fine. I think and also here, there is just something like me and Carol, we work together, but we are super different. And here, when we're talking about knowledge and then waving and whatever it is, like you don't need to be just with people who are similar to you or with those who have just the same ideas or the same goals in life. You can be with people who are different than you. And Carol will say this more in forward, but here when we're talking about net waving, this is super important because as humans we try to be connected to those who are similar to us, and sometimes we lose to know from differences. So yeah, that's just this.
Perfect. And here's an important point. When we have diversity, we have space for innovation, space for other questions. So maybe if we invest time on being with people that are different from us, we also have a lot of gains. And when you say we are different, we have different backgrounds, different dreams, but also a common sense of what we value at most. And we share some values in Dona de Mim and World Women Leadership. Also, this is one of the values that we live, that we feel, and that we believe. Everything we do is practice-oriented. We don't believe in a theory. We don't created a gender equality movement to be a marketing platform for us. We want to help people genuinely. So this is something we really feel and we live.
Me and Carol at this point, actually, guys, we do it in our lives, in our careers, not only in Dona de Mim, because it's kind of something that is common. I know it's for you, it's also common, but sometimes we're seeing movements, things, reading stuff that are so fairy. It's not based on practice. Like, how can you tell a woman, for example, that she needs to work, I don't know, 12 hours a day, but she has 3 children at home. She has to take care of her house. She has like a husband or another wife. She has a life. It's not practical. So when we connect the practice with the theory, we can do it stronger. So here, I think the tip for you is like, in my life, in my career, in my work, what is actually the practice? What I learned from the practice that people are not saying at the school or at the university. That is something you just know once you are actually acting in work, in life. And here, practice is also about the experiences we have. So for example, what you're doing now at this session is also practice. You are learning from people who are doing. You are listening to people that are actually in the movement. This is also practice. So everything that we leave is practice. If you are traveling and you go to a local restaurant, you can learn from the owner of this restaurant, his story, how he started his business, how it was for him. It is also practice. So practice means living, means looking at things in a detailed way, not just, passing by, but also paying attention in small steps, in situations, at details. And you can take off these types of learnings from that. And for sure, you can use it in your movement or whatever you want to.
Exactly. Good point. Good point. And for us, the theory that it comes after. First, you have a problem, and then we learn how to solve through theory. So this is also what we support. And also here, there's a small secret. When we first worked together, me and Wisma, we worked for strategic planning and market intelligence. So we were used to do lots of planning and forecasts and everything. And as we said in the beginning, here we put everything that we believed into a business, into creating community. And we feel that the really things happen when we mix a bit of planning and improvise, and we are paying attention what is alive, what we want to do, what happened after a workshop, what we felt, what we want to do next. We pay a lot of attention to it.
And also, guys, there's something here. Sometimes we don't pay attention on our feelings. And me and Carol, we made some wrong steps on that. Sometimes we went to meetings, for example, and we go out feeling that is not for us, but we just, you know, we we continue it, and afterwards we just looked at each other and said, we had to hear something like the inner voice that is saying, maybe that is not the correct path. It's the intuition, it is whatever you want to call, but this is also improvised. Planning is super important. For those who are from business areas, you know that, but life is what happens between what you're planning and while you were walking. So don't be blind on that. Don't just skip this thing about just acting. I see lots of entrepreneurs, but also wannabes entrepreneurs or whatever, like for movements, and lots of people just stay in the planning. They don't move forward, they don't make a step, because it's lots of planning sheets, PowerPoints, lots of stuff, taking care of the color, if the color is perfect or not. And we are doing that in between while we are acting. And that's super powerful, because nothing is more powerful than action. Absolutely nothing. Planning can be incredible, but it's the action who makes the difference. It's the action who makes something come from the ground to something else. So yeah, I love this step, Carol. I love it. I think we learned a lot from that.
Exactly. And also we learn to say no, because sometimes we are not used to say no, especially for us that we are Latinos and from South America. It's hard for us to say no. And sometimes we have to say a no to make room for yes that is more aligned with who we are. So this is also really, really important to tune in, to really understand what we feel in terms of intuition, what we feel in our body. If we finish a meeting and then we feel completely depleted, it's also a sign. It's a sign that we are not in the right place that we should be, and we can just change the road. Well, then the number 6 is, for us, community means commitment. We have the genuine commitment of helping each other. We want every woman and every person, because Dona de Mim, after the pandemics, we opened it as an online workshop. We had men that come to participate, and we are here to serve, to help each other to flourish, and we celebrate diversity. Doesn't matter where you're from, what language you speak, we celebrate it. We understand that we learn through difference.
And here, there's something from our practice as well, because being from a very poor family and being able to learn from people who were my bosses, as Carol was, or other people, was super important in my path. And I had something that Carol shares with me, that usually people are just meeting people from the same kind of tribe. And when you mix this and you have this diversity where a doctor can be with a girl who's a nanny, and they can be in the same room, and they can share and they can exchange their experiences. It's more powerful than any theory we could put on the board. And also here, people usually come to us like, what is the formula? What is the magical formula of starting with 17 people and being with 13 people in a community after less than 2 years? There's no formula. The formula is just being committed, is just truly doing something for others, not just for us. Of course, there is something that helps us, me and Carol personally. Of course, this when you show your face in another place, when people get to know you, of course, it helps us in our personal careers, but it's not because of that. It's because something bigger than us. We usually say that Dona de Mim is here, Carol and Wisma is here. We are here. Dona de Mim is, it's bigger than us. It's more than our ego or what we want for it. And yeah, that's the formula. That's the magical formula. Just doing something that makes sense for you.
Yes, and then this is also for us number 7, and it's a very, very important step. When the world changed because of a virus, we also need to change. We had a plan. We were organizing a run to support gender equality, and then somehow we have to change plans. We changed plans, but the dream of a more equal society is still alive. So how can we adapt formats? How can we reach people with our message? So this is about continuity. This is about changing formats, but still keeping our values alive and our cause alive. Wisma, do you want to complement something?
No, it's fine.
Well, and this is the last point, but it's not last but not least, really. For us, if we don't have fun, it's not worth it. This is a key element of the journey. We dream, we plan, we work a lot, and then we celebrate. And we celebrate the small steps, the medium steps, the big steps, and we love. And this is how we think business and work should be.
And guys, it wouldn't be different. Carol is an artist and I'm a backpacker. An artist and a backpacker needed to have fun. But also there's a small story here. When we decided we would go to Mozambique to take Dona de Mim with us, it wasn't something actually planned. We have a dream, we bought tickets, and then we decided how we would do it. And the whole story was super funny because we drove from South Africa to Mozambique, just 2 of us in a car. It wasn't like actually a very safe car, I would say, but it was a car we had to rent. It was the only option. And then we drove to Mozambique. And you can imagine the things we passed through it. Like the car was in the middle of the sand. People needed to rescue us. We went to places we would never think in our lives we would be able to go. And then even though with lots of small troubles, it was super funny. And I think it was probably the life-changing for me and for Carol as well, also for Dona de Mim. And this was only because we wanted to take Dona de Mim to a country as Mozambique. So yeah, if you don't have fun, if you don't do something that makes sense for you, also to laugh. You know, sometimes you're gonna be in the middle of a trouble, but then you're gonna look around you and you're gonna say, you know, this can be a trouble now, but it's funny. I'm having fun. For me, it's nice. And once you don't feel this, then maybe it's the time that you have to look at it again and see if you should keep it or change it. So yeah, I think this is the key element, more than a key element. And it wouldn't be different with an aerial artist and a backpacker.
Exactly. Well, guys, I'm going to stop sharing the screen for us to talk. So if you want to ask something, this is the moment. We will be pleased to answer it. You can do it through the chat, or you can do it with open your mics. We want to hear you too.
I'll add something that I 100% agree with. And I think Nikki also mentioned it in the chat. The part of having fun that I think is so critical to teams, but also so hard sometimes to say, because sometimes with the work that we do, it's hard to say that we should be having fun, right? Like it's hard to say that we're feeding people that are vulnerable, that don't have food security, for example, and that we're still having fun doing it. And sometimes when I try to relay that information, it's hard for me to even say it or think that it's, you know, make situations a little bit more lighthearted. But I also like agree with you, like we work long hours, we do so much that takes out of us personally, that you have to find something that still brings you joy in dealing with the hardships that are in the world. And just, I guess, saying like it's okay for everyone that may feel the same way, in the sense of like we shouldn't be having fun doing this hard work. Like it is okay to have fun, and it is okay to, like, in the sense of self-care, of making sure that you take care of your mental health, because like so many people that work with even like autistic children and in schools, it's just mentally draining, and it's okay to look at the brighter side of that.
When you say that, we tell here a story about a lot of inspiration, but every time in Dona de Mim, we hear a case of someone that had a case of violence, of abuse, and we hold the space. And this is, for us, is very hard. It's very hard to know that we are in a society that this still exists. But it gives us fuel to want to change it. But what I normally say, that we cannot give to the others what we don't have. And as we want to give joy to the world, we have to cultivate joy. So that's why, yes, we can love. And we can serve someone with a smile. And for me, it's crucial. And I know that Wisma shares the same feeling.
And also sometimes, always I question myself, who takes care of those who take care? You know, like who's taking care of you? Who's taking care of those who are helping people? Sometimes who's going to take care is yourself. Like you have to take care of yourself. It's easier to say than easier to act like that. I'm not like 100% a person who takes care of, you know, myself the way I should, but it's something I've been questioning me. Like who's going to take care of you, Janet, for example, or for those who's doing these types of jobs. Go, Paulina.
Yeah. Hello. Sorry.
Hello.
Yeah, this is really inspiring for me, and I love being surrounded by a like-minded group of individuals, and just so passionate about what you're doing. And yeah, it's really admirable. Something I really missed, to be very honest. So I moved back to Medellin. I'm from Medellin, Colombia, and I moved back 3 years ago. And something that I really missed, and it goes back to having fun and the passion, is, I don't know, I kind of feel sometimes we just get so involved in the day-to-day, just like keep going. Everything has to be like so professional, just make the work so professional, and just that at times we just forget, like as a leader. So I'm the founder and the director of my organization, and particularly in the midst of working remotely, having like leading a team that's fully working remotely, everyone from their own homes. And whenever I try, let's say icebreakers in meetings, or let's just have like virtual happy hour, honestly, to be very honest, and where I like in Medellin, that doesn't like resonate. Like people are like, no, we just have like, I don't have time for doing like virtual happy hours. If I want to have fun, I have fun with my friends. Icebreakers at work, no. Like whenever I have check-ins, you're like, fine. I'm like, no, I don't want to. It's not fine. Like, how are you doing? Fine. So to be very honest, yeah, and also just like that passion, like I don't know if it's something that, so I was in New York, I was doing my master's at NYU Wagner, I was surrounded by a group of like-minded people like you guys. And here, like as much as everyone is doing their work very professionally, at times I feel it's just about making it sound like very professional, and we keep going and we're doing which is wonderful. But it's also like, as you were saying, it's also like it has to be something greater than yourself. And it's not only about it being like an organization and doing it very seriously and very rigorously. It's also about like, why are you doing it? And having fun in the journey. And as a leader, I guess this is more like a reflection, like an open question, like what has been helpful for you guys? I know it's something that's cultural in Latin America, or if it's Medellin, or what is it? Because in New York, it was very different. And in Bogota, it was also very different. And it's just very hard to get people in my team to like, I mean, they're really working very hard and but sometimes it just gets too, I don't know, like just too serious, you know? And so I don't know if there are any tips on that end.
Okay, so Paulina, first of all, I love Medellin.
Yeah, it has the most amazing the weather is amazing. We have like, I just walk out of my house and there's like these little creeks and trees, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. I'm in the city and surrounded by all this nature.
Yes, it is. My roommate in New York is from Medellin. I love there. But I'll tell from my side, and I think me and Carol, we have different ways to how we act on this situation. So I'll tell from my side. I think the first thing, sometimes I'm super rational, to be honest. And I think that people can be allowed to know what is joy for them. Like I'll tell from my side, sometimes I need to be alone. Sometimes to be happy for me is to be in my house with no one doing my stuff.
Same here.
And I know that sometimes for others can be, oh, Wisma, let's go for a happy hour or let's do something. And I'm the person sometimes who says, Jesus, I just need to be by myself, because there's a lot of voices in the world, and there are people who are different and they need just silence sometimes. But from the other hand, I think it's sometimes we set our bars super high and we expect that we should be perfect, that everything should be perfect, that we are not gonna leave anything and everything is gonna be settled, and it's something that doesn't exist. So I think sometimes just by knowing that if you, for example, finish your job and you leave your employees or your group to, go out on a Friday, 4 p.m., sometimes some things won't be perfect, but it will be super good for the climate of the group. So yeah, that's basically what I would do. But I think Carol, she has more an artistic tip for you.
Yes, and maybe the artistic tip is how we connect people, not on the ratio now, not on the robotical, as Joy said. And I think that there are many ways: connecting with art, sharing a personal story, showing vulnerability, but also sometimes things just are. With some people, you have like proximity, and you talk about many subjects and you want to gather on the happy hour. And with some people, it's not natural and you don't fake it. So we can call humans to be humans, but also we can understand that people have different needs and just respect it.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I wanted to comment on that, Paulina, as well. Like from my experience, like we do in the team check-ins, and these check-ins used to be more stiff and for some people awkward. But I tend to see, because we do it in different teams, like for different organizations, and I tend to see people, the more people show their vulnerability and talk about just really their personal stuff, then others start daring to, and they start feeling, because it's about creating safe space. So, and things it's a cultural change, like you referred to. So it takes time. And I think people that know me know I'm not a very patient person. So it's something I had to learn in terms of being patient, because cultural change and these, things for people to feel the safe space, it takes time. So I think I would just be very encouraging, because I've seen wonders after. The most people that were most uncomfortable are those that are speaking up most right now, and are the ones that go very personal. And so you see that coming, but it's just something you cannot plan for.
Yeah.
But, within the chaos and order we talked about before, the planning and life happening, I think it's somewhere in that space where consistency helps as well. Just keep on bringing, just keep on being vulnerable, have others on board, with bringing this vulnerability to the table. And I think that, I've seen wonder, I've seen it really beautiful people that would never say I love you or things, just out of sudden throwing in all their emotions into the meeting check-ins. And I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's super inspiring. And really, I'm very happy to be in this space. I hadn't been in a space like this ever since I came back. And I stopped going to events, to be very honest, because it's no, they're just talking blah, blah, blah. They just want to say they're changing the world, that they're just greenwashing, and really it's just, and they're not. So, but this is super, this is the type of connection I really was missing. So thank you all.
Well, talking about connection, I would ask if we have a last question, and then we are going to move to a different part of the session that is girls only session. So someone is still wanting to say something that we want to hear and to ask. Nikki?
I was going to say Jason and Q maybe.
Well,
before we let the boys go, I would say, because I also wanted to comment a little bit about teams and building communities, because I came from, so it seems like a lot of people that would be in this session are leaders, right? Are managing teams in some way. And I was living in Japan for about 3 years, and the culture was completely different than what I'm used to. And the language barrier was not there. So I had everything going against me, and the hierarchies in Japan are very different when it comes to work. And I was in the same, my team here knows that I'm all about fun, all about okay, let's have this energy. And they are the Japanese culture is very, no, we come to work just to do work. And we don't make relationships, we don't do any of that stuff. And I think my best advice is kind of touching on a word that Nikki said, is patience. And as a leader, patience is it takes such time to build relationships and build good teams, that when I couldn't get people to rally around my energy, it was okay, so how can I actually connect with this person? And taking extra time out of my hours to actually understand that this person is an introvert. What do they like to do? It actually got me really into food, because I started cooking and now asking questions of what is this ingredient? What is that? Just to figure out how to start conversation with somebody who wouldn't normally start conversation with me. And it takes a lot of time, but I think as leaders, we have to commit to that time to understand the team, that then we now know how to bring them in and now know what excites people. So that would be my little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. Thanks for sharing. Super.
Yes, thank you. Guys, thank you for being here. Thanks for this sharing moment. And then we kindly invite, I guess Jason is already gone. Kyo, do you mind leaving the session and giving the girls a moment for herself? We want to chat about things, and we kindly appreciate. Thanks a lot.
I think he might not be at his computer and just left it on. I know where he is.
There he went.
Well, about that, Q actually had a comment last time when we said about that space, and I thought it was super relevant of having this space, because there's a lot of women groups that are coming together to share, like this is like coming up more and more. And he said, why don't boys have that? Like there's the typical, I mean, he's British, right? So there's the typical boys clubs, like where you smoke cigars and drink whiskey, but there's no space for men to come together and show their vulnerability. So I thought that was such a good point, because, you know, that comes back to the gender separation as well. Just wanted to bring that in as he was leaving.
And I'm also going to just say that I'm going to stop recording the session. So people who are viewing things,